Hello guys, and welcome to this long overdue chat about my gastric bypass experience. So in this video I'm going to be talking all about my experience from 0 to 3 months post-op gastric bypass. Please excuse the way I look today. I'm currently at work and I have been painting all day, so I'm literally in my painting outfit. So if you've just stumbled upon this video, I had gastric bypass in April. It's currently the 25th of May, so I'm around about 2 months, 3 weeks post-op, and I travelled out to Lithuania and used a company called Nord Bariatrics. You can actually go and watch those surgery vlogs over on my channel. I'll leave a link in the description for you to check it out. The first 2 months are probably the hardest 2 months, I would say, after surgery, because you have to go through staged foods. So you have to go through food stages, and the first stage is obviously a liquid stage. Every surgeon has different requirements, but I was allowed to move straight on to kind of a liquid stage. I didn't have to do a clear liquid stage. So for the first 2 weeks I had to have soup, yogurts, and anything that would run or pour off the spoon but with no bits in. So I avoided things like herbs or spices, and it was just really mild food. And to be honest, you kind of really numb in the first few weeks, and I managed a very small amount but slowly increased my liquid and food intake throughout the week. And then I kind of built up my liquid tolerance, and I also had to make sure I was sipping water every day, because you can't just chug water anymore. I can't physically just grab a cup of water and like drink because I will get pain and discomfort. So I have to just take, especially in the first month, tiny little sips of water throughout the day. Now it gets a little bit easier because I can take a gulp of water. Sometimes if I take too big of a gulp I get that pain, but I can do it quicker than what I could early post-op. I had to be very vigilant that I wasn't going to be dehydrated and constantly sip on that water, and that can be tricky. It's really hard to get your water intake. You also, when you eat food, have to leave a 20 to 30 minute gap before eating and after eating, and the reason they tell you to do that is because when the food sits in your stomach pouch, adding water to it will flush it down too fast, and you will not get that fullness feeling and you'll feel hungry sooner. This rule applies for the rest of your life. Now, have I been perfect with this? No, it's very tricky habit to break. You cannot drink fluids with your food. Now I have to still be vigilant on how much water and fluids I'm getting in, and probably have to be like that for the rest of my life, but I no longer have to take tiny little sips like I did in the first month. So after the liquid stage then comes the puree stage. So actually I was allowed to have baby food before the puree stage, but I was allowed 4 months and less. So I wasn't allowed anything with clumps, bits. It had to run off the spoon, and 4 month baby food is, so it couldn't be above 4 months. So I was actually allowed that straight after surgery, and we actually got given that in the hospital. Like I say, every surgeon's different, but if I'm being totally honest, everything for the first 3 to 4 weeks after surgery tasted extremely sweet, and I mean really sweet. Now my tolerance is kind of back to what it was, but my taste buds definitely changed directly after surgery. Everything tasted super sweet, super sickly, and made me feel really sick. So my tolerance for baby food was super low, and I found it really hard to tolerate. Baby food seems really sweet, like I don't know what it is. I think I had like carrots and turnip and stuff, and it was just that sickly sweet feeling. So as soon as I got back from Lithuania, I started making my own baby food and liquefying things, purifying things, so it ran off the spoon. Oddly, I was craving salty foods and I was craving tuna. I just specifically remember really wanting tuna, which brings me on to the puree stage, which is when you can have those textures a little bit thicker. Doesn't necessarily have to totally drip off the spoon, but it is a little bit more substantial than liquid. And I would blend tuna. I also made a concoction of chicken and broccoli and then added water and some salt. That was really nice. And you would think it sounds disgusting, but at the time when you're in it, you're just looking forward to something other than liquids. So honestly, I was really looking forward to this stage, and I pretty much tolerated most purees that I'd tried, and scrambled eggs. That was the one thing that I had all the time, scrambled eggs. So I would whisk one egg up and I would add a dollop of garlic and herb Philadelphia, and I would whisk it up, and I would tolerate it really, really well. And it would be in this small ramekin, and I would have most of my food in these small little ramekin pots. And then after a month of surgery, you kind of experiment. Everyone tolerates things different. Like my husband actually can't tolerate much compared to what I could tolerate. He's actually had dumping syndrome quite a lot. For those of you who don't know what dumping syndrome is, it's basically where if you've had too much fat, too much sugar, ate too fast, it goes from your stomach into your intestines too fast, and you can get sweating, nausea, vomiting, you feel like you need to lie down, your heart starts racing. There's all different types of symptoms. There's stomach cramps. I've had painful stomach cramps, but I haven't had vomiting. I've not vomited this whole time. It's kind of trial and error, and you really don't know until you test out. I tried to keep within the dietitian's recommendations, and when I was in the soft food stage, this is things that are easily mashable with a fork. So we're talking mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, minced meat as long as it's covered in gravy. Cottage pie is a great example for this. I definitely had cottage pie, but try and focus on the protein rather than just the carbs. So the dietitian really made a point that protein is extremely important for bariatric patients. If you're a bariatric patient or researching about it, you will probably hear this. Protein is key. There is the option for protein shakes and protein yogurts, but if I'm being totally honest, I could tolerate them perfectly fine before surgery. After surgery, I've totally went off them. They make me feel sick. I don't like the chalky texture. It's so bizarre because before surgery, I like protein shakes. They basically tasted like milkshakes for me, but now that is not the case. I cannot tolerate protein shakes. But in the soft food stage, I was basically eating like cottage pie, lasagna, and I was trying to make my focus on those protein sources, so the minced meats, and again, I would eat a lot of eggs, and then I also introduced cheese. So a good snack for the soft food stage I found was cheese strings and Babybels. They were absolutely my go-to. It really helped boost my calcium intake and my protein intake, and I found them a really easy snack that I could stomach really well. And throughout these whole stages, I had to make sure to chew the living daylight out of my food. Like literally, we should all be doing this anyway, chewing properly, and because your digestion starts in the mouth, and I had a habit of just wolfing food down. So getting used to really chewing my food, I made it basically like a mushy mess in my mouth, and also taking very small bites. And that's why I feel like I haven't had as much dumping syndrome or as many problems and discomfort during the first kind of 2 months during the puree and the soft food and the liquid stage. Which leads me on to the stage that I'm now in, which is 6 weeks post-op. It is the solid food stage. So this is when you can start introducing normal foods, regular foods into your diet. Again, you always have to chew your foods well, and you just basically have to experiment now. You're kind of left on your own. They give you guidelines: eat healthily, eat nutritious foods, get your protein in first, and then everything comes second. So I always try and eat the protein first, then the vegetables, and then a little bit of carbs, and that is normally how it goes. I also have a treat now and then as well, and I've tolerated most things, if I'm being totally honest. So I'm currently in that stage, but this is the stage where I've actually had discomfort because it's a very experimental stage, and the things that cause me the discomfort the most is very dry meat. So I have to make sure, one, I chew and or have gravy or some sort of sauce to lubricate the meat, otherwise it does not sit very well. And I don't know if it's dumping syndrome or just pain from extreme restriction, but it can be very uncomfortable and very painful, like right up here in the top section, like my stomach pouch can't hold it, and yeah, that's not a nice feeling at all. So very dry meats or any sort of dry food, and bread. I've tolerated spices, I've tolerated most things, but anything dry really doesn't sit well. With curries, things like rices can cause problems, but to be honest, I haven't tried rice properly really. I've had curry, but always focused on the meat and vegetables in the curry before trying some rice. The little bit of rice that I have had, was totally fine. But the one thing that does cause me problems is bread, doughy bread. Think bread that's not toasted. That sits like an absolute lead balloon in my stomach. I can only have a few bites of really doughy bread and it must expand in my stomach and it just feels gross. Even if I chew the living daylights out of it, it's really uncomfortable. I can sometimes tolerate it. I travel a lot, as you guys know, on this channel, and I've had sandwiches on the go if I have to, or wraps. Wraps tend to go down much nicer than doughy white bread, but toast goes down okay. But if I'm in a pinch, I'll try and eat the sandwich filling out and take some of the bread off and try and eat that last and just eat the bread filling if that's possible. So that is definitely still a bit of a tricky food for me at the moment. So before we get any further and we talk about the problems that I've had with the gastric bypass, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to our sponsors today, Skillshare. For those of you who don't know what Skillshare is, it is an amazing online learning platform filled to the brim with online classes. Skillshare has a class for everyone. Whether you want to master a new skill like painting or brush up on some existing skills, you can be sure to find a class for you. I love taking creative classes, but I also love finding new ways to grow. Ali Abdul has this amazing class, YouTube for Beginners, how to start and grow your YouTube channel, which I would love to take to brush up on my YouTube skills as I grow right here on my personal channel. If you would like to try out some classes for yourself, Skillshare are offering the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description a free trial of Skillshare. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. They are my second sponsors on this channel and I am so appreciative of it. They have been big supporters of my main channel, Katnipp, as well. So thank you so much, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into the issues that I've had with gastric bypass. Now I just want to quickly talk about alcohol. I actually tried drinking for the first time last week and to be honest, I don't think I'm going to drink for another couple of months. It went down absolutely fine, don't get me wrong, but I was sipping water in between and I was taking it very slowly. I just thought, what is the point? So I'm probably not going to go for it. I was having vodka, lime and water, so lime cordial and water. No fizzy drinks, you're not allowed fizzy drinks ever really after surgery, so I haven't tried fizzy drinks at all, and then I also tried an espresso martini which went down absolutely fine as well, but to be honest, I don't really see the point in drinking at the moment, so I'm probably not going to drink for a few more months yet. Editing Catherine here. One thing I will say about alcohol as well is the fact that there is a well-known study about transfer addiction with bariatric patients, and a lot of people who relied on food as a source or a coping mechanism can go over to alcohol and use that as a new coping mechanism, and that really at this point I didn't even want to risk it or try it. So that is one of the reasons that I'm kind of steering away from alcohol as much as possible and only using it on very special occasions. So this is something to be aware of if you are thinking of becoming a bariatric patient, because it is a very real thing, and it's actually quite a staggering percentage of bariatric patients as well. After last weekend, I'm not really feeling it. It's not that I had any issues, but I did feel a little bit of soreness, almost kind of irritation from the alcohol. So I just think, what's the point in doing it if it doesn't make me feel good? That is just my quick take on alcohol. I'll give you an update further down the line at maybe 6 months post-op and then a year post-op. Let me know if you want to see those videos too, and if you want me to do regular updates. So I actually want to just talk now about some uncomfortable experiences that I've had. So the first uncomfortable experience I had was actually when I was traveling in Parma. Now traveling when you've had a gastric bypass to a different country can be tricky sometimes, and I was in that kind of experimental phase. I was on the solid food stage, and I had 2 instances on that holiday where I actually had discomfort, and I had what's called the foamies, I think they're called, or kind of like a regurgitation. I had to spit out what was in my mouth because I felt it kind of come back up my throat. And basically I got an English breakfast because there wasn't anything. I was traveling from a very small airport, and I'd had some beans and some egg, and I was eating the egg, and I think I tried a bit of the sausage or mushroom. I can't remember what it was. I still haven't had mushrooms since because of this experience. And as I was chewing, I put too much food in my mouth and I swallowed something whole. And boy, that caused so much discomfort for about 24 hours. It must have been sat in my stomach. And then I tried to take another mouthful, but it wouldn't go down. The food wouldn't go down. So I had to go to the toilet and basically spit out the regurgitated food, because whatever I'd eaten has somehow got stuck in there because I didn't chew my food properly. And obviously your stomach is only like this big, the size of an egg after surgery, and I don't have enough stomach acid to break something so big down, and I think that's why it caused me so much discomfort. It felt kind of like a heartburn sensation, a fullness in my chest, like it was lodged there. I haven't really had that since, but during the puree and soft food stage I would get like a sensation that food was kind of stuck here, and I took that as a sign of eating too much. So once I was aware of that, I now try and stop eating before I'm too full, otherwise I get that uncomfortable feeling. But this time when I swallowed this mushroom thing, sausage thing, it was really, really, really uncomfortable. Ugh, it was horrible. And that was my experience in Parma. And then I also had a lasagna, because we were actually all inclusive and I couldn't eat much, but I'd have meat, and I added some alioli, which is like a garlic mayo, and I think the alioli was too fattening because it really didn't feel right at all. Other complications that I've had is constipation. Now this is too much info, but I know a lot of you guys want to know, and I don't really care, to be honest. This has been a big problem, so I've actually started trying to eat dates and prunes and trying to get enough fluids in. Now this can be caused for numerous reasons. One, you're not getting enough fibre. Two, you're not getting enough fluids. That's basically the gist of it, of what I've heard anyway. So I try and eat prunes and dates. I have 2 or 3 a day. I've actually run out and really need them. Oh my gosh, I was in so much pain. I literally felt like I gave birth to the Antichrist about 3 weeks post-op. It was extremely painful. Also, my poos were like the size of a woolly mammoth. So I had to be super vigilant about my fibre intake and my water intake, and I mean, I've been suffering with it since. I used to be pretty regular, like every day, sometimes twice a day beforehand, and now it's probably once every 3 days, once every 4 days. But I really need to make sure I'm getting enough fibre, fruits and veggies in, which is easier in the solid food stage, but it's actually incredibly difficult to do during the liquid and the puree stage, because what the heck are you meant to have? It's very, very hard, because they tell you to focus on protein first, but obviously high protein food doesn't often have a lot of fibre in it. Ways around this: you can get laxatives. That's what I ended up having to do. I got Ducalax after I got the initial really painful bout of it about 3-4 weeks post-op. I then moved on to eating like dates and prunes that have a lot of fibre in, and then eating more fruits and vegetables when I could in the solid food stage. But oh boy, that was not fun at all. Other than that, I'm feeling heckin' great. I have 0 regrets after having my surgery, and I did have the doubts for the first month during that really tricky phase of going through all the stages. I was like, have I done the right thing? Should I have done it naturally? But obviously I have been battling with my weight since I was 13 years old. I've literally been on and off a diet since I was 13. A 13-year-old girl should not be dieting. So I can honestly say now I'm out of that tough phase. I really, really am glad that I went ahead with it. Touch wood. Touch wood, nothing happens in the future, but we'll just have to see. And it's that risk I was willing to take to better my health. I now get full of a very small amount of food, and I'm trying to focus on getting the nutrients in and making the right food choices, and really trying to educate myself on the right food choices. If you don't know much about bariatric surgery, there is one thing, especially if you're a gastric bypass patient, that you have to take for the rest of your life, and that is vitamins. So I have to take a multivitamin for the rest of my life, and it's multiple multivitamins as well. For me, I've actually paid for a subscription from a company called Baracol. It's 90 euros, I believe, and you get a 3-month subscription, and it's specifically designed for bariatric patients to have the full vitamin count that bariatric patients need, because with the gastric bypass it's a malabsorption procedure apparently, and you don't take in as much nutrients because your stomach is bypassed. You also may need some B12 injections on top of that, but my Baracol has got oral B12 in it, but sometimes people have issues with getting the B12 in orally. So I'm actually going to to be calling the doctors, because I'm coming up 3 months, to have a blood count done and make sure that my vitamin levels are all up there, and if not, I can adjust and amend them and make sure I'm getting enough vitamins in. So that is one thing that you have to make sure if you're looking into the surgery. You have to take into consideration I will be on vitamins for the rest of my life. I still don't regret that, and if I have to take 2 multivitamins a day, then so be it. That is something I am willing to do. And anyway, before surgery I actually did take multivitamins daily anyway, just to make sure I was getting enough vitamins in. So to me, it's not really a big problem, but you just have to make sure that you're getting every single one in. So my heaviest weight was 305 pounds, which was 21 stone 11, I think it was. Actually, I think I was 21 stone 12, so it might have even been more than that. And I was so close to hitting that 22 stone mark. I can now say, kind of annoyingly, that I am officially 17 stone 0.4 pounds. It's so annoying because I'm so close to being in the next stone bracket of 16 stone. I have not been this slim for over 10 years, since I was in my early 20s. Dean has actually never known me this slim. We met about 9 years ago and I was bigger than what I am now when I met Dean. So it's kind of incredible. So 305 pounds to 238 pounds. I've got 38 pounds to go until I'm in Wonderland, as people call it, the 100-pound section again, which I am so excited about. My BMI is no longer nearly 50. I think it's somewhere around 36. I've got a BMI of 36. I'm obviously aiming for a very healthy BMI, but I know BMI isn't the be all and end all, but I am just looking to be really, really healthy. I've still got another 7 stone to go to reach my target of 10 stone or 140 pounds. But I will say that if I get to a size that I'm very healthy, happy and comfortable at, I will stop. So even though on paper my ultimate goal weight was 10 stone, I've actually got an interim weight of 11 stone 5, which I think is about 165 pounds, let me guess. Yeah, it's about 160, 163 pounds. That is my interim goal. But like I say, if I get to 12 stone or 13 stone or 180 pounds, 160 pounds, and I'm really happy, healthy, feeling vibrant, love the way I look, love the way I feel, then I'll stop there. It is all about my health and obviously hopefully to conceive as well. Well, I'm actually going to be doing a Q&A. If you've got any questions that you would like to ask further, let me know in the comments below, and I will be filming a Q&A to sit down with you guys and go through your questions. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight of my journey so far. Let me know if you want me to do more of these update videos. I know they're not usually the type of videos that I usually do. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all very freaking soon. Alright then, thanks so much for watching. I love you.